Welcome back to another episode on the YouTube. Today, as you can probably tell by the title, I'm going to talk about and go through with you what I'm doing at the moment with quad training. Really just because quads has always been a weakness for me. In the past, when I was getting into bodybuilding and stuff, I always had quite skinny, lanky legs when I was growing up, and found it hard to put on size on the quad area and around the hamstring and stuff. And now, probably for the past year, my quads have really developed and come into their own and really just taken shape. And I wanted to share with you my current quad movements that I'm doing. Obviously, this is designed by Luke, my coach. He's been designing my programs now for over a year. We've been working together, so the credit goes to Luke, really. I had to show up and do what he says and follow the plan, execute as best I can. And this is where the quad development has come from. So the choice of movements obviously is a massive part of it, and the choice of rep range and sets and volume is all a massive part of the quad training and how we have been able to develop. But in this phase that we're going into now, we're in probably week 4. Actually, today's Monday, so the week 4 of this next phase of training, which will take us up till Christmas and possibly beyond for a few months, where we're pushing bodyweight up. This phase, we're really trying to focus, one of the main areas is quads. As last phase, where we did, I think, 14, 15 weeks, we focused a lot on hamstring. We had a full leg session, which was, I'd say, more hamstring dominant. Obviously there were quad movements in there, but we were focusing a lot on hamstring. And then we had a posterior session as well, which focused on hamstrings as well. So we've now toned down the hamstring training because they've come up greatly and are kind of not overpowering, but you can tell that the quads are now slightly behind the hamstrings, which is good, because we wanted to bring up hamstrings and glutes. It's a main thing. Coming from the back, we want to be very strong from the back, hamstrings, glutes, calves, all of that. We want to be really dense and strong, which now we've come to a point where, as I said, hamstrings are slightly in front of quads. So now, going into this phase, as I said, we're coming into focusing a lot more on quad work. So I'm just going to run through with you what I'm doing. I'm going to be doing a voiceover of my session, which was last Tuesday. This is the only time I've been able to get on camera as I'm in the car, so I'm quite pushed for time. But I wanted to do a little voiceover, take you through the movements that I'm currently doing, and just talk a bit about intensity, execution, as I normally just post up, or normally just put in footage of me training, which is it's not kind of pointless because you can kind of take things from it, but I want to be able to just explain why I'm doing certain movements, what, the feet position, why is this rep slow, why is this rep a bit faster, what am I doing in terms of execution, what am I thinking during the set, different cues that I'm going into. So there's loads of things I can cover going into this, the voiceover, which I want to do. So that's really what I'm going to do after this slide. But I think quad training is something that a lot of people do wrong. I think a lot of people think, well, in terms of training in general, I think when people are getting into bodybuilding, and I was a culprit of this, doing the standard 4 sets of 10, 4 sets of 12, and doing that for every single movement is just, you don't need to be doing that. You're not going to get as much bang for your buck as you would doing a back off set, a top set and a back off set, or an all out top set, or 2 top sets and a back off, stuff like that. And with legs especially, you need to be adding volume. So I'll talk this when we go into the footage, but you want to be adding some low rep stuff, so some 6 to 8 stuff, some medium rep stuff, so 8 to 12, 10 to 12, and then some really high rep stuff. So in some of my movements, I've got 25 to 30 reps. I remember last phase I had it on the leg extension, it was a set of 50. you know, you need to tap into these different rep ranges and get really strong over all these rep ranges in terms of the sets and reps. You know, we need to get strong on them, which is going to develop our quads. You know, I think quads, as they're such a big muscle, you need to target them as hard as possible and from different areas as you can. So adding the 20 reps, the 30 reps, the 50 reps with still quite heavy load is what is going to make your quads grow, and still having that low rep range in, you know, the 6 to 8s is also going to build up strength. This is something, since Luke's put this type of rep ranges in and this type of volume into the sessions, this is where my quads have blown up and have really come into themselves. So but yeah, I'm just going to tap into, or cover what I'm doing, go into this voiceover now, and hopefully you can take something from it, take something into your sessions, add it into your leg days. The footage I'm about to show you is just quads, okay? So this is not my full leg session. There's obviously hamstrings in there, there's calves in there, but this is pretty much the whole leg session. Yeah, probably bar 2 movements, a hamstring and a calf. I just wanted to keep this fully quad focused and looking into quads itself. So yeah, go into this voiceover now. Hope you enjoy, and yeah, take some pointers. Okay, so going into the voiceover section now. This is our first movement after doing 5 minutes on the treadmill to warm up, doing a bit of stretching. This is our first movement that goes into our leg session, just to really warm up the quads, adductors, and obviously this is going to focus mainly on our adductors and get us set for our squatting movements and heavy presses. What I like to do on here is I set the pin to about 8, I think 8 or 9 on the stretch, which is quite a big stretch, and I managed to get up to, I think it's the stack plus 2 20s and a 10 and a 5, I think. And we'll go for a set of 6 to 8 on this for a top set, and then the back off is usually I think 15 to 20. So going into our second movement here, we've got a leg extension. What I like to do on here, as you can see, is the tempo is very much a very slow eccentric. So like try and do a 3 or 4 second eccentric and squeeze hard at the top, which I think I start doing by rep 4 or 5 on this. There you go. Again, a set of 6 to 8 or 8 to 12 on this, and then a back off set of 12 to 15. These are just the top sets I'm showing you, but a great stretch and a great squeeze, hitting to failure. So going into our third movement now, another quad movement here. This is probably my favourite movement at the moment, not just in the leg session, but I think all round over the week. This is one I look forward to the most, because it's the most challenging for the quads. As you'll see when I get into the set, the stretch in the knee, making the quads stretch as far as they can go, is insane. This is probably the only movement where you can get this kind of tension on the quads. You'll see how low I can get. You can't really get that on the hack squat. This movement you can put your feet right under and really dig your glutes into your calves, and make sure the quads are stretching as far as possible. Getting up to some decent weight on this now, trying to keep the knees safe. As you can see, doing a 3-second negative on the way down and exploding up out of the hole. That's my main thing I try and focus on, is exploding up out of the hole. Again, going to failure on this. I think I got 8 reps on this, so weight will definitely be increasing to about 5 plates on the 5 this coming week, but really enjoying this at the moment. Okay, so going in after our true squat, which was before, we've got a squat press. Now I add 2 green resistant bands onto this as the load just got too much. I ended up stacking the whole thing. I think it was like 12-13 plates aside. So I thought I'd make it harder, adding on 2 green bands. Here, to be fair, I could have made the eccentrics much slower, which I will this week. But again, going a top set on this, about 8 to 12, I think. Really trying to maximise the quads here. You see my feet is low on the pad and pretty close together, just inside shoulder width. So again, really trying to contract the quads and not really pay attention to hamstrings and glutes. Trying to isolate those quads and maximise this movement. So this is now our last quad movement for the session. A nice isolating movement where we're doing a split squat here, going on one leg then the other. Again, trying to stretch that quad out as much as possible, get some blood in there. Legs are fully pumped by now, you know, after we got 1, 2, 3 big movements, and then this is kind of just a finisher, just to finish off, keeping tension on as much as possible, trying not to stop in the set, just focusing on filling those quads up with blood, really trying to stretch out the quad. As you can see, going down to the floor, pretty much touching the floor but not just above, probably like an inch or 2 above the floor. I'm using probably like a 30 kilo dumbbell here, and just 2 top sets of 12 here. As you can see, swapping leg, take a little rest in between, swap over to the other quad, and go again pretty much. So but that's just an insight into my leg day, where we're now focusing a lot on quads, and trying to bring them up, as I talked about at the start, trying to bring them up to match my hamstrings and glutes, which is great because usually it's the other way around. Usually you're chasing hamstring size and quads are massive, so mine's pretty much play in between, trying to get them both equal, so we can get a balanced lower body, which is the main thing that we've been working on. So, but I hope you enjoyed this little voiceover. The first time I've done one, so I quite enjoyed it. Just kind of give you a little more detailing, just instead of just playing some training footage. So I'm going to leave it there. This is coming to the end now. But if you did enjoy this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, share, do what you do. Appreciate everyone who keeps watching the videos on a weekly basis, and look forward to seeing you again soon.